All right, we are leaving the Littleton Adventist Hospital area, and I am currently headed to the highway to go to Washington Park. Now, the good news is I have the button. I got it at like 4 a.m. Saturday morning. I got a notice of a software update. I installed the software update. Oh, there's a little sunlight thing flashed on my face. Installed the software update, and then the button to request beta access showed up. Hit it, and it basically says, now we're going to evaluate your driving. So presumably the earliest I could have the beta is next Saturday if according to their driving parameters I do okay. Now the cool thing is in their app you can check how it thinks you're doing. Now that said, if you do anything wrong in the first couple of minutes, oh good, look, the pro-lifers are out. Anyway, if you do anything wrong in your first drive out, you definitely get hit hard for it, because a lot of it is against like thousands of minutes or miles. Like it's, evaluating how many times this happens per 1,000 miles. And so the funny thing is I went on a trip and I used Autopilot for most of the trip, and the hard braking that Autopilot did tanked it wasn't horrible, but bad enough to get down into the red. And so I'm currently fixing it, because it's like percentage of time that you're of braking that you're hard braking, because it was the Autopilot that was braking too poorly, too hard. And I was noticing it. I was like, oh, well, it's Autopilot, so that probably won't count against me, right? It does. It counts against the braking the car does counts against you, as though this quick braking thing that it's doing, you were supposed to take over and do it softer or something. I don't know. It's not perfect. Even Elon said in a tweet, like, this will get much better over time. But I just thought that was interesting that the Autopilot stuff was that way. Now, some of the things that are also missing from the grades it gives you, here, let me just tell this to navigate to Washington Park. This should
the president.
Oh, got the news trying to come on. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's that. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, and I purposely waited to do it till now so that we would get to do a lot of this on the highway, and you'd get to see a lot of the sort of before and after Autopilot versus beta full self-driving. So this just did that lane change itself, and that's really, really good. You know what's funny is I think I actually drive better when I'm making these videos showing this stuff to you. I don't have the radio on, I'm not singing, my phone is filming, so not that I would ever look at my phone, but anyway, so this is basically your introduction to, I had recorded a test video the other day, didn't like how the audio and stuff came out, wanted a little bit more time to work on some other things too, possibly graphics and stuff. Don't even know if they'll be ready for this one, but now we've got things going. This is telling me, so there it's suggesting, because we're coming up on a slower car, that I get in the faster lane. Now, one thing I just realized, and I'm gonna be extremely careful as I check this. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you all can see this screen okay, and it looks like you can. So usually anywhere else, if it's doing the like hold you in the lane, it has a line around the lanes, but when you get on Autopilot on the highway, which is like the closest thing any of us have had to the full self-driving beta until now, it does this straight line, and basically it's saying, I'll handle this. Like, I can take care of this drive, you can relax. And this is why I, with my medical issues, who have been like really not okay to do trips and stuff because of my medical issues, this is why earlier this year I did the first road trip I had done in like 10 years, like long one. I drove all the way to Austin from Denver, and that was huge for me. And so a lot of the reason why I have never wanted a car really in my life, like I used to think I wanted a Dodge Charger as a kid, but I think some movie had come out and it was cool to have a favorite car, and Dodge Charger was like like nobody really was like, oh, what a stupid pick. It was one of those easy picks to fit in. The only car I've ever wanted was a Tesla, and it has nothing to do with the physical car. I don't care about the physical car as much itself. I have some back problems, so I did want one that I could like sit a little higher, but honestly I couldn't really afford a Model X. So then when the Model Y came out, and it's like much more close to like just a regular consumer car, way more in an okay budget on a lease, that was the way I got into it. And then basically got into the Model Y and did the full self-driving package. Now, the full self-driving package, I paid for that as part of the purchase of the car, or the leasing of the car. I paid for that a year ago, and I think it comes out in payments, like it's added to the lease total, but you're buying the full self-driving, which is nice because in theory, if my next car has Tesla's full self-driving available, supposedly I'll be able to just transfer it. I hope that's true. But anyway, I've just been paying for it for this long, and I'm only just now getting it. And they're pretty behind on a lot of things. Tesla, when you lease, at least here, insists on registering your car and arranging for your plates to be sent to you. Now, okay, so what just happened is something that's super weird. I'm glad that it's recovering, and it just recovered better than it's ever recovered. But I'll interrupt to tell you what just happened. I don't know if you all noticed that the speed went down, but it went down, and in the past, at that exact same edit, it has gone down to 50, and my car rapidly like tries to brake to stop itself going 50 miles an hour. Now in this case, and we did get the software update, so I'm hoping that that's why it fixed itself. Maybe it's always gonna be better now, because it never made sense why it did it, except that maybe it thought it was on the bridge above, and maybe that thing is 50 miles. I don't know, but it's supposed to be vision based, like actually spotting these signs, and there is no sign that knocks it to 50. And so this thing was happening, and it was actually pretty scary sometimes. Like if you're in pretty congested traffic, right now is not too bad, but let's say I was even just in that cluster of traffic ahead and didn't have so much space around me, that could put you in a lot of danger, like a lot of danger. Now I'm gonna push back to 3 car lengths because the driving assist, the safety driving thing is a little bit of a Nazi. So I'm gonna give myself a little more space, but look at this. It just changed. Okay, so no, it just did it again, basically. I've gotta pop this back up to 70 because it just changed my maximum speed. The speed limit's at 65, but it changed my maximum speed to 45. And like going too slow is just as dangerous, and in some cases more dangerous. On a highway, going too slow is more dangerous than going too fast, with the exception of going ridiculously fast, obviously. Like you're on 120 miles an hour on the highway. Yeah, that's more dangerous, but yeah, just really scary stuff. So the cool thing is right now, I had to confirm to it that it can make that lane change, but it's doing this turn by itself. I'll just kind of bring my hands away a little bit. It's doing this turn by itself. It's following, it sees the car ahead. That helps with like lights and signals when there are some. All right, it wants me to put some pressure on here. And yeah, we're just flying through. It's handling. So the pressure I was just putting on wasn't actually to assist in the turn. It was to tell the car that I'm alert, which is whack to me because there are such better ways to do it. I could totally just rest my hand on here, close my eyes and fall asleep. Don't worry, I'm peeking through, but close my eyes and fall asleep, and the car probably wouldn't notice. There are even little things, adapters people put on these things that make it take longer if it ever figures out that you're on. The thing is, now mine isn't covered. I know, like, by the way, I do want to say a thank you and a shout out to Dirty Tesla, because I 100% stole, he did a video showing people so they could do it themselves. A lot of the tech setup is the same. You're going to see a lot of the tech setup I add to be the same. But anyway, there's a camera right here. Now, supposedly, it is in no way network attached, and it's never monitored by Tesla. But you can teach it to do things. And certainly, it seems to me that some sort of face tracking that to show that I'm pointed forward or my eyes are open, that would be better. And then let me put my hands down in my lap and let it drive. I feel like that would be a better situation, but they're not doing that. And I will say the other thing I don't like about it is that there are times that my hand is absolutely on the wheel and it doesn't matter at all. Like it'll still flash that thing up. So yeah, very, very frustrating. Anyway, the only thing I've ever wanted was this full self-driving. Now this right now, until I get approval, presumably I will, especially as I get more drives in, and I'm being now extra cautious for the next week because the autopilot does mess up more than I do as far as like braking too hard goes. It said I also had a little bit of hard turning that I was doing. I don't agree, but I'll just go extra cautious. I don't think on the drive that I went on where it was like, hey, there was a little bit of hard turning on that one. I don't think that it's true. But anyway, we're right now, the system we have will stop for lights for us. It will go straight for us. It'll go through lights if it has a lead car, or you confirm that it can go through only green lights, obviously, and then to some degree yellow lights, but it'll stop. It kind of knows the timing, and it'll stop for a yellow light it's not going to make, and it'll go through a yellow light it is going to make. And sometimes it goes through yellow lights that I wouldn't have gone through, which is an interesting little tidbit. Same thing with lane changes. Sometimes it'll do lane changes where it merges into traffic more aggressively than I would do, which is awesome because the machine knows better than I do. That said, for parallel parking, it'll parallel park itself. It's amazing. But for parking in a spot, and it only reverses into spots. It doesn't do a pull in face forward yet. For pulling into spots, it kind of sucks. And I feel like 70% of the time, I end up taking over and finishing the parking job myself. It wants me to once again move into the faster lane. So this is an example. I don't know if you can see in the rear view mirror, but this is an example. I can show you a little bit how close this guy is behind me. Well, that doesn't really show it off, and he is backed up, but that was a more aggressive lane change than I would have done for sure, because that guy was not far. He's much farther now than he was when we made the lane change. But I think I've also already been, I think I've always been a little too timid of a driver. That said, when I was doing my road trip, Denver drivers are like so aggressive. It's all like, man, if I don't shave the 19 seconds off of my trip that driving super aggressively will even does in the first place, like they act like someone's going to die. There's a helicopter flying rather low. Like, you know, I can make out the difference, the different windows on it. I wonder what it's doing. It must be maybe heading over to a hospital to land, or a building to land on it. Pretty low helicopter right over the highway. Anyway, I don't actually remember what I was talking about. I got very distracted by the helicopter. God, what was I talking about? As I got older, these like complete loss of train of thought are getting more. Okay, anyway, it was about as I was going to Austin, I realized it all came back that I was a more aggressive driver than a lot of the like towns I went through, and even I think Austin, though it might have been more that surrounding area that was that way, and also because I was late at night, I was just realizing that there was like there was times I would like pull out super fast and hard, and then there would be so much time because the car that was oncoming didn't see that I was doing that and speed up to be a dick like so many people do here. Now, for all I know, I got lucky, and Austin traffic is horrible too. Drivers are horrible too, but just my little anecdote there. It's also like, it's getting pretty hot in here. I'm trying to keep the air from blowing too hard directly onto the microphone, but it does have a little wind thing on it, so it probably will be okay. But heat is like a big health trigger for me, and it just, when I feel hot, I just start getting sick and crashing and stuff. Anyway, continuing on. We're still on I-25. We are 4 miles from our exit onto Downing. It's now telling me to start moving over into the slower lanes. It doesn't usually, I think right now it's just because it doesn't think I'm fast enough to use it to pass anymore. Because it doesn't usually start moving you over until 2 miles away. And I've even noticed sometimes, like if it's a shorter trip or your speed, it might be speed based, it'll wait till like 1.4, 1.2 miles to start saying like, why don't you go ahead and knock on over? But, you know, probably just gonna move over anyway because, well, this wants me now to pop into left lane. I'm just gonna do what it tells me. Okay, so it's doing the lane change. Like I said, it handles all of this by itself. It's very good at it. I haven't touched a pedal since we got on the, I don't think, well, okay, I think I touched it back when the speed went down, because without disengaging autopilot, you can like right now, I can push on, it's gonna close my gap, but I can increase the speed manually and it'll still stay in autopilot. So I think I probably did that back there when it knocked down as I was pushing the speed back up. But other than that, especially ever since we got off 470 onto I-25 now, I have kept my feet off of the wheels. All right, passing Colorado Boulevard. There's a Raising Cane's down the way that when I lived in a different part of Denver, I used to frequent. I used to visit and patronize. That sounds like I was unkind. That I used to be a patron of semi-frequently. All right, so that guy saw that. Now, why am I not? Okay, there we go. See, that one was a little less aggressive than I would have. Because that guy clearly, like when he saw that I put my blinker on, he backed off to let me in the lane. And as soon as it was cleared with at least, one car's distance, I would have pulled in and then kept moving up. But this guy waited kind of a while. All right, now this is going to be interesting because we're coming up on a cluster, and he wants to lane change. The Model Y car wants to lane. I don't have a name for it. I usually refer to it as a he. Yeah. All right, so that was fine because this guy sped up. The one behind me slowed down. And now we're passing the University Boulevard. So we're getting pretty close, and you'll get to see how this thing disengages by itself. But once again, I'm not touching anything. This is interesting. It's allowing me to have my max speed is 10 miles an hour over. Okay, I'm just indicating, just taking my hands off to show you that it does this lane change completely by itself. Now we're straight in it. Anyway, it has it at 70 max, even though the speed limit's 60. In the system, I told it to limit it to 5 over, but there's a lot of these places where it's like, the speed limit changed, but he probably didn't want to. And I've not understood the logic behind it yet. I'm sure there's something I'm missing about it, or a setting I'm missing. All right, now pulling into our exit. Here we are, taking Downing Street to one of my top 5 favorite places in all of Denver. I guess I have a few more that actually are above it that probably knocks it out of 5, but they're more close to those mountains that you see, or on those mountains. And those aren't really Denver anymore, even though they're kind of considered. All right, so it's telling me 200 feet till it disengages. 75, 50, 25, 0, and then it just goes back to the normal way. So it is still following these people, and in fact, it's still going to stop for this stop sign up here. The question is, will it take the correct fork? And it looks like it. Okay, so it wants me to take over here because it had really no idea what it was doing. I am going to pull out. That's not too aggressive. Now I hope that. So it takes forced disengagements. It does count those against you. I don't think that counts as a forced disengagement. I think forced disengagement is when you don't touch the wheel several times for a while. I think it's when you don't touch it at all to tell you that it's alert, and then it basically says, we're shutting off. You can't use this now for the rest of your trip. Which the funny thing is all you have to do to re-engage it, and I tested this at one point to know, you could literally pull over, put it into park, hit drive again, and it's re-engaged. I saw one person on YouTube test it out, where he tested it on a road trip, and he had hundreds of miles left, and he was like, all right, we're not going to pull over or anything because we don't want to test this or anything or get anything else. Like, he was worried that if he pulled over and turned the car off, I don't know, that maybe the car wouldn't turn. I don't know what he thought was going to happen, but he wouldn't try and decided to manually drive the remaining. Now, even here, I can put this in autopilot, and now it's going to handle following at a reasonable distance from this car, steering, and keeping us in the lane. If there's a light ahead, it'll stop us if the timing is appropriate. This is Washington Park here on the right. I'm going to probably stop here and get out and go for a walk. I wish I had brought my scooter. I had intended to. I just realized I also forgot to bring some other stuff that I wanted to have with me down here. So, I don't know. We'll see what. But there, I just had to cross in front of somebody. You know, I am so tired of, this is my last little thing, but like, people in Denver really think that if you put your hazard lights on, you can just park anywhere. And it's really, really frustrating. Because they often park in places that you're not meant to park, like in no parking zones, and just put on their hazards, like because they're delivering DoorDash or some shit like that, or they're a Lyft or an Uber, pick or somebody up. And it's literally spots where the reason you're not supposed to park there is either it's a fire lane or it's a blind spot. It like makes it impossible. And that's those are the ones that piss me off the most. When you come out to some corner, you have somebody with their hazard lights on, with a fucking Uber or a Lyft sign or their DoorDash, you've got somebody with their hazards on blocking your ability to see around that corner. I hate that so much. It just makes it so dangerous for everybody. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm at Wash Park. It was great talking to you. It was great seeing you all. I'm going to find a parking space, and I'll keep you updated on my progress with the button and my progress as it judges me and my driving, which I know myself to usually be a very good driver. My partner would probably disagree, but I feel like my partner sometimes, the pressure of them judging my driving might have caused the problems. I'm just gonna blame them. That's so much easier. Oh, people having family gatherings and taking big photos. All right, stay tuned. We will see you again very soon, I'm sure.